Welcome back to the program. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okela, and my guest on the program today is a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, a social activist, is the man who speaks life to youth. Emperor Baywood, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Baywood. You had gambled your school fees already, and yes, through gambling. So we know that every child almost across the African continent has fallen trap of that story of we'll make you rich, we'll make you make some more money, give us your school fees. Now we all fall in that. But let's move past that and then go to the straight of what is Baywood and how did you come up with Baywood? Let's pick it up from there.
Okay, so thank you very much, Eddie. I'm glad to be here again, and it's nice. I love what you're doing, and just keep it up.
Thank you.
First of all, my name is Chris Baywood. My middle name is Baywood.
Yeah.
Okay, the Baywood was derived from, again, my father, having worked in construction industry, worked with a couple of white guys, as his colleagues, from coal to construction. So he's a man with diverse view of everything. He did agro, what he was doing, farming. From farming, he went coal mining. Coal mining, he returned back to construction industry. And he grew from there until he retired, and then, of course, lived his life, and we took over from where he stopped, right? So Baywood is a name he gave to me because of relationship he had with some of his colleagues, those days in working with Pt2 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I love the way the name resonates for me, you know what I'm saying? So when I decided to register a company, Baywood came very strong. And then the Continental, originally was Continental, Baywood Continental. Because my friend had a company called Gillis Continental. And I love the way it sounds. I like the vowel, Continental. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of guys register companies in Nigeria and say,
Yeah.
so Nigerian Limited. I'm a guy with different, I'm very stylish, I do my thing.
Yeah.
People do so and so.
We can see it right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
A lot of companies will say, oh, so and Sons Nigerian Limited, so and Sons West African Limited. And I said, no, I don't want all these names. They sound very archaic and local.
Yeah.
So let me go international. So I said, Baywood Continental. Can't you understand?
Yeah, I don't understand.
And there's always is something in a name.
Yeah.
This name, Baywood,
Yeah.
just that name
Yeah.
gave me a lot of mileage and leverage in doing my business.
Wow.
Yeah, I can tell you, yes. So Baywood was born, and Baywood was born to do every business, regardless of what, you just want to do business, right?
Yeah.
So we did trading from trading to supermarket. I remember we ran a supermarket. We did trading from Japan, from China, no, not China, Hong Kong then, Thailand.
Yeah.
Bringing air conditioners, refrigerators. Me and my wife, my wife is, she comes from a background of, business-oriented family. And her community, her state now is called Anambra State. And they are predominantly business people, right? And I tell you one thing about Anambra State, sorry. Anambra in Nigeria, that they have the largest concentration of per individual wealth in Nigeria.
Wow.
Yes, the largest concentration in the whole country per individual wealth. Almost everybody, one family has a wealthy person. They are also educated. Don't take it away from them.
Yeah.
The Ojukus of this world, the deeds of that world. The Ojuku that led the Biafran War is from Anambra State. His father was one of the biggest moguls, pre-colonial. So, anyway, a combination of myself and my wife, we did quite a lot, very supportive woman, I can tell you. So, from there, from trading to, let's get to corporate.
Yeah.
And the Baywood was now born with a formal office because that time we're just importing items from, from Hong Kong, Thailand, UK.
Yeah.
Anything I go. So we're just importing and selling, from baby product to air conditioning, to refrigerators, to cars, to what have you. We did quite a lot of things, you know, trying to survive. And then, of course, from there, somebody said to me, but your brothers are in this industry.
Oil and gas.
Oil and gas. Go to them. What do you mean? Go to them. Take a cue from what they're doing. So I went to one of my cousins.
Yeah.
I know who, big time, you know, big time. I'm telling you, big time. In those early days, they're already doing business of $30 million and above. Imagine, $30 million and above. At that time,
Yeah.
my God. Just opposite today, it's well over maybe $300 million, $400 million. That's it is.
Just a moment. So when did you incorporate Baywood? When did it come? 1989. So correct. The $30 million we're talking about, your brothers, was 1989.
Pre-1989, they're already doing business of over $30 million.
Proceed.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They were living large.
Yeah.
These guys were in charge.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I went to my cousin and I said, listen, this is what I want to do. And we just signed an MOU to use his facility. Because to be in this industry, you have to show that you have competence and you have the capacity, both financial and technical, you know. Yeah. That's when we started inching into oil and gas. So, of course, I had an arrangement with my brother who runs a company called Funktai Limited. Funktai is a name borrowed from Korea because he does a lot of business with Koreans and China, Chinese people. He had a major project that time that he partnered with Chinese guys and I think Korean guys. And when they were done, he adopted the name Funktai, you know, and it's still a very big name to reckon with today in Nigeria when you talk about construction and dredging and what have you. So we got into a quasi-partnership. Yeah. Quasi in the sense that the equipment were available to me. Yeah. He gave me an MOU that I could use any of the tools he wanted and I wanted to use because that's what the IOCs want to see. Yeah. It's not that, oh, I have them, because they're going to inspect what you have.
So the IOC being the International Oil Corporation.
International Oil Corporations.
Yes.
Yeah, oil companies, you know. So I started with that. The first I had was security contract to do installations for the then Minister of Petroleum. Yeah. It was a big deal. It was a big deal, man. Yeah. Getting into an NPC database, that is what it means. Yeah. Because that time I was in an NPC database. Yeah. Okay? So I was just trading and doing other things, but not in corporate world. Yeah. Don't forget. Yeah. So the day I was paid, the day Baywood was paid by NPC, almost, I think I laminated the payment. I laminated the payment instruction.
Yes, it's back that one on the scene. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, so that was your first payment.
That was the first payment. Like I can't remember what that payment was like. Maybe about 50,000 or 500,000 to do installation. And I'm like, wow.
Dollars or naira?
Dollars.
Dollars.
My man, I'm not dealing naira. I'm dealing. I suddenly realized I can make money in dollars. Don't you understand how sweet it sounds, right?
Yeah. yes. Uh-huh.
Like so I laminated the payment instruction. Yeah. Wow. That was the spore.
Wow.
Okay. So
and that's a turning point.
That was a turning point. I said, okay, so I can do this. Yeah. So I was virtually everywhere. Civil construction, ICT. Then the next one I had again was to do LAN, local area network. Yes. For the same NNPC. Like, wow. So things are turning around, right? Yeah. Got into construction, did a lot of civil construction for NNPC again. NNPC stands for Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. Yeah. So, for records. So just like you have Ugandan National Oil Company here. Yeah. So, wow. And Baywood was becoming a name.
Baywood was becoming Baywood.
Yes, Baywood was becoming Baywood. And that's why I said there's always something in a name.
Yeah.
Make no mistakes about it.
Yeah.
First of all, each time Baywood presents the business card or whatever, first thing, it's an international company. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Not Pt2 and Sons, Nigeria Limited.
So the naming matters.
Oh my God. Better be careful with selecting names, right? Yeah. So, that name was a door opener for me. And that continued until I met a guy, the same guy who said to me, babe, why don't you talk to your brothers? Why you, come on, man, your brothers are in this business. Why don't, so the guy said to me one day, do you know a department called NAPIMS? NAPIMS is an acronym.
Yes.
It stands for National Petroleum Investment Management Services.
National Petroleum Investment Management Services.
That is a subsidiary of the NNPC.
Yes.
These are the guys that deal with the upstream oil and gas in Nigeria.
When we're talking about this now, we're talking about real money here.
We're talking
we're
about
talking about
real
serious
money.
now. We're talking about serious business.
We're talking about mega money, mega money.
Yeah.
I said, no, I don't know. He said, okay, I'm going to direct you to that place. You see, one thing I can tell you, once you get started in something, from one, you learn to the other.
Yeah.
From the other, you learn to the other.
Yeah.
Referrals, discussions, and stuff like that. Provided always you keep track and get focused. Just remain there. Remain there.
Yeah.
So this guy said, do you know so? I said, no. He gave me a name to talk to when I get there. And I got there and I said to the guy, oh. The guy said, no, okay. We are not in charge of this particular area you want to get into.
Yeah.
He gave me another name. When I got there, we introduced ourselves and we talked about our schools. Lo and behold, the guy is my alma mater. Same school, but we didn't meet ourselves.
Okay.
Okay.
The same military school.
The same military school.
Yes.
Quasi military, not quasi military. You know what I'm saying? So we bonded immediately.
Yeah.
He said, oh, I'm going to give you all the support. I'm going to give you all the support. I'm going to give you all the support. Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have to? So he gave me like what we call in Nigeria expo. Expo is a common parlance we use when you are being foretold of something ahead.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
I want you to say that in Nigeria.
Expo.
How you say it in Nigeria. In a Nigeria, how a typical Nigeria would say it.
I don't have a typical language for it. But expo, if you understand what the expo, I'm giving you expo. Expo means I'm giving you information that you shouldn't know.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that I can help
It has
you.
not come from me, but yes, you use this information.
Yeah, you can't go and say, oh, I got this expo from. No. Yeah. It's not supposed to be known.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is coming from some guy who wants to help you. My dear, when I saw the money, when I saw the contract, award $50 million, award $100 million, award $200 million, and I paused a little while and said, these guys, can I do this? I said, why not? They don't have two heads. They don't have two heads. So for me, it's another turning point. And the rest is history. And the Baywood began to grow from there, made so many, took bold steps, made successes out of them. And when we grew the Baywood Continental, Baywood began to, grow other branches, okay? Because we, as a company, we are focused on facilities. We call it from cradle to grave. From cradle to grave is anything in the oil industry we can construct. From building, from the moment you poured your oil, from your first oil, because we are not drillers. Yeah. The drillers are the guys that will go first, or they have the seismic guys. The seismic guys will go first and get data, do a data acquisition, and from data acquisition, they have guys who will now go and begin to drill. From drill, the moment you get your oil, from there until you export, this is our business.
Wow.
Yes. So
this is Baywood.
This is Baywood Continental. This is our business.
Yeah.
We design, we build, and we procure everything that has to do from the point you get your oil to the point where you export your oil. In other words, we construct the pipeline, we design the pipelines, we design all facilities that will make the oil produce, and we take it to the terminals. And we build the terminals, we build everything, other appurtenances that have to be in the terminals to store the oil, to export the oil. Then of course we do every other thing that has to do with maintaining the facilities, because one thing that they do and do pretty well in the oil and gas industry is optimal maintenance, preventive, not reactive. They do preventive. So you can have a facility that will last you for 100 years because you continuously do preventive and planned maintenance.
Yeah.
This is our core area
Yeah.
for Baywood.
Yeah.
And then from there, of course, Baywood gave birth to better other companies. We have the aviation company called TAL Aviation. We operated in Nigeria, operated helicopters until pandemic. With pandemic, of course, most airlines and aviators suffered.
Yeah.
Okay, we have the engineering arm called High Tech. So the High Tech does all the engineering activities, both feed, pre-feed, and detailed engineering. And of course, we have the exploration arm called, then it used to be called Baywood Exploration and Production. But with the turnaround of things, the so-called talk about exit from fossil fuel to clean energy and doing the renewable energy. So we changed from Baywood Exploration and Production, so it doesn't look a bit restrictive, to Baywood Energy Development. So, and of course, energy is still, oil and gas is still part of energy, but we just don't want to make it look restricted that when you see our company, you think we're just doing exploration and production only.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Chris Baywood will be telling us a little bit more about what it's like to be the CEO and the president of the group. Obviously, we're talking about some large amount of money. He said the gallons and the gallons of money. That's what he says it. And we want to know, what does that mean to manage that kind of business, to manage the multinational business at that level, internationally in Nigeria. These guys are not playing games. These are big boys. Stay right there. We'll be right back after this break. It is a CEO Bench. Welcome back to the program where we get to discuss change management, leadership, and transformation. We are now going to that part of, transformation. We've talked about, leadership. You've had the story of leadership of, Emperor Chris Baywood, eBay. And we're going to that moment where we talked about change management, or we're going to talk about change management. We've been talking about it already. We're going to wind up that, and we'll get into, the transformation. How does Baywood as a company, change lives of people? And how is this whole thing of, being a social activist and being a youth empowerment person, what change? How is it that a person of his caliber is beginning to push down here, yet he's supposed to be talking about big things, Stay right there, okay? We're going to bring back, Emperor Chris Baywood. Welcome back to the program. What a fascinating story and journey so far that you've had in your life. And you talked about this. I want to know, what is it like to be the president and the CEO of Baywood, Continental, Baywood Group, and all these things going on? How do you manage?
First of all, is determination and purposefulness. I like to use the word purposefulness because you have to be very purposeful in life to succeed.
Yeah.
Another word for it got to be deliberate, to succeed no matter what. And being deliberate and purposeful means that you got to stay focused and you have to have your eye on the ball.
Yeah.
Eye on the ball, always. So I'm one guy that has always had my eye on the ball, and what's that ball? To succeed. Make a success, not minding the challenges. Of course, Baywood Continental didn't just get to become Baywood Continental without challenges, or Baywood Group without challenges. We have had enormous challenges that, for the faint-hearted, would have chickened out.
Yeah.
Right? Making money is not for the lily-livered. Making money is it's not for the faint-hearted. You have to have a very strong will to weather the storm, because it comes with a lot of storm.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a walk in the park. If you say walk in the park, it would have been like the normal proverb would say, if wishes were horses. If
wishes were horses, yes.
Beggars would do what? Would ride.
Yeah.
So I can recall my very two experiences that, again, transformed Baywood. It couldn't have been without those things. Number one was my first project with Shell. Don't forget, I migrated from NNPC, right, as a service provider, to now I'm going to work for the IOCs. Different animal.
Different ball game.
Different ball game, man, because the IOCs, they take no prisoner, right? They take no prisoner, man. And in those early days, we were the guinea pigs, of course, in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. There was no local content. Most countries never were practicing anything local content. It was exclusive of the multinationals. They come there, do their business, and of course, get in, get out, all right? No much of investment. So some of the local practitioners were one of the early callers in that industry. First, it comes with a very big price. Always a price you pay. And when you want to pay that price, it's very painful, right? Yeah. So I think one of our first project about 1993 with the IOC, if I'm correct, was about $5 million. Very excited, man. $5 million.
From 50 million to 100,000 to 5 million.
Yes, dollars.
From 50,000.
Dollars.
Yes,
and
dollars to now to 5 million.
Before,
yes.
You know, we did quite a lot of projects with NNPC there, you know, maybe 30 million, you know, 10 million, but it's not compared to $5 million.
$5 million to $500 million.
$5 million, initial money, initial award, first award from IOC, $5 million in 1993, my brother. It's like David, what do you call it, what do you call this short guy that is a film producer? He said, money stinks, but he loves the smell.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito.
Yeah, Danny DeVito. Yeah. He said money stinks when it lost its smell. It means you
said money is the only thing that stinks, but he loves the smell. So for me, big money is what gives me a kick. When I hear big money, I'm like, huh? What can I do to make it?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So we got a project down the line, we lost the contract.
How did you lose the contract?
Euphoria of a young man getting into a big project and not doing planning very well in accordance with the expectations of your clients, which now happen to be IOCs. Okay, procedures, processes, quality, standard, specifications, and any little thing can cost you a project. More so, don't forget, there was no local content. So you're on your own. As a matter of fact, the first thing they do when you show up as a local company to do before these other companies, you say, no, they don't want you. So it's local content that has made it look like, oh, okay, we are in charge. Okay, but it's good for the country. Okay, you know. So we lost the project, but that was another turning point. Several turning points. You know, you have to learn these things.
Yeah.
The turning point is that the IOC said, listen, guys. Well, of course, I went to the regulators of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria at the time, and I complained that this is what happened. I don't think it was right for them to have taken my project. As God may have it, God is kind, you know what I'm saying? So, and everything we do in life, God must take preeminence, and you know, God first. So I had, in between, I had another project coming up from within the same client. But the client was so particular about this particular one, they canceled. Yeah. I think they had an interest. Let me put it this way. I think that's an interest.
Yeah.
They needed that contract. And they didn't expect that when they went to tender, that the Nigerian company would win.
Okay.
So, coming from a nowhere.
To a somewhere.
To a somewhere.
Yeah.
Relatively unknown. I think I'd ruffle feathers. I'd ruffle feathers, right?
Wow.
So, a booby trap was set.
Yeah.
You know, these guys are more systemic than us.
Yeah, systemic in nature and approach.
And they're process driven. Yeah. It set up a booby trap, and I fell into it. Point of no return. Okay, how do we negotiate out? The regulator said, okay, if you must take this one, you have to let these guys do this other one.
Yes.
But they were not ready to let us be in the system any longer.
Because you're becoming more and more
a threat.
Yes.
So, first option is out of the system. Okay. But again, that's when you have strong regulators. They were very firm and said, no, this guy is not going to be out of the system. If you think they have done something and they have not done something right, put them right. Let them do it and do it well. So we're given the option to get restructured. And as a young businessman,
Restructure the contract.
Baywood.
Okay, restructure the company, not
Baywood
restructure the contract.
must be a structured company.
Yeah.
Not just one, because they see Baywood then as one-man business. Which is what happens to a lot of us in Africa.
Yeah.
It's just about me, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we don't grow.
Yeah.
If you have to grow.
And that right there is a lesson, is what we're saying to us.
Say again?
Is that right there is a lesson you're trying to share with us?
Big one. So what the point here is, we have to let go from the company. We have to create a structure that separates us, me or you, from the company. So because at that time it was me. What do I mean by that? I was the general manager, I was the managing director, I was the CFO, I was the accountant, I was more or less the admin officer. So the check was in my pocket. Before that time, okay? So I write check, I approve check, I get cash, I dispense of cash, and blah, blah, blah. That's not the way, so you never get anywhere. And that's how our fathers operated. Because it's just about them, so they never go beyond the limit, okay? If you can't, the only way for you to go from where you are is to bring more brains.
Yes.
If you bring more brains, then it will increase the capacity of what you have, all right? And you have to let go. So, okay, that was done. They suggested, well, they didn't suggest, they said we should identify business process companies. That they will come and audit. We did. We appointed one. They audited Baywood. One thing they said is, first of all, please, sir, Chris Baywood is an individual. One hand. Baywood Continental is a company, right? So you have to place yourself on the right salary. And appoint certain positions, created certain positions. That we did, and we began to run. So the company readmitted us back. The IOC readmitted us back by that singular action that we restructured. They came, before the readmission, they had to come and assess the work done so far by the company, by the independent company. And they found that, yes, we have put in processes in place, we have put structures in place, and they have to see the individuals. It's not just creating the boxes. And
filling the boxes without, yes.
So that we did. And then, of course, the next is history. And Baywood began to run based on those structures. And, every day, that's what they call continuous improvement in your process. Process improvement, structure improvement. Of course, we grew to become ISO certified, and we grew to eventually from ISO certified, being local ISO certified company. Then it was SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria, that certified us. From there, we moved to Bureau Veritas as an international certification body to certify Baywood. And ever since then, we've been running as a very well-run organization with different departments and different people manning it. So I can afford, just like that I've been here now and going to 1 month, the company is running without me. All right, yes, I have my level of approval. When it gets to the point where I have to approve, information is filtered to me. When it's necessary to copy me in any communication, I am copied. Otherwise, people do their business based on work schedules and how the work breakdown structure, we call it, has been assigned to them. So, and they feed in. I have people who report to me, they have people who report to them. It's bottom down and top down, okay? Yeah, so whenever it's necessary, they report to you. Where it's not necessary, okay, so they run their bank, they run the financials, they run everything. I'm not here.
That said, Emperor Chris Baywood, we wanted to speak from there. You talked about the challenge, and how did you outcome the challenge of the big loss that you made?
Saving grace I had at that time was, okay, I had another project that was coming up, and that project cushioned the losses for that one. But then again, another big challenge that I had again that strengthened Baywood was I had another project, and I think it's that same pipeline project that was coming up at the time I was losing this. Oh God, multiple chain reactions, yes. That project came up, I took that project, down the line, we were caught up in the crisis in the Niger Delta. because Niger Delta region is where you have the major oil production activities, in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So our operations pretty much revolves around Niger Delta, right? Whether it's in Port Harcourt, in Cross River State, Akwa Ibom, or Delta State, as it's called, but they're all called the, Niger Delta. This is where you have the large concentration of oil activities in Nigeria. So, but this particular incident happened in Warri. Warri is located in Delta State, all right? So we were in charge of the western region of certain IOCs doing the pipelines and stuff like that. But during this period, there was a whole lot of crisis within the region, between communal clashes, I would say. They engaged in a lot of communal crises that engulfed the state, and some of us were caught in the crossfire, because we were down in the creeks, doing those projects. We were caught in the crossfire, where we lost a lot of our equipment. They were burnt down, some were thrown overboard into the water, and we had borrowed a lot of money from the bank that time, a bank called Citizens Bank, then borrowed a lot of money to do that project. That's one hell of a challenge I had in my life, again, as a businessman, which I don't see in a lot of people here in Uganda. They want to make money, but I don't think they want to carry on when they have challenges. They chicken out, But Nigerians, we know how to shrug it off. We know how to manage our situation.
Yeah.
So I had borrowed money from that bank to do that project. I think about 100-something million at the time. The 100-something million at the time was almost equivalent to $100 million.
That's 160 million naira.
100-something million at the time.
Yes.
Because it was almost 90.900 to $1, in those early days. So.
And what was the rate at which you borrowed the money per annum?
40%.
Wow.
Where in the world can you operate with 40%?
Only at Chris Baywood.
It's not about Chris Berry. It's about that was the exchange, or the interest rate regime and policy within the country at the time. But what I mean is, my dear brother, it's how do I call it? It's so draconian.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a draconian law, kind of.
But that's the best they could offer, and we call them the new generation banks that time. Those guys were sharks. Those guys don't care a huge about you. They were just living large.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know how they got their money. They set up banks, small banks here and there, and they're ready to fleece you, And then exchange rate, interest rate in Nigeria at that time was were the mercy of the bankers. Yeah. So we had this thing. Upon the challenges that I had, so the interest rate ballooned the loan, and at the point I think it was almost ₦1 billion, my dear. At the time. ₦1 billion at the time in Nigeria at the time is almost like $900-800 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, a lot of failed bank facilities.
Yeah.
Of course, where would it not fail?
Yeah.
40%.
40% is quite a huge.
Yeah. What business are you going to do with a 40% interest?
Yeah.
There were a lot of loan defaulters that the banks were going on as well, because when you don't pay your loan and this one don't pay his loan or that one don't pay their loan, of course the banks will not survive. Yeah. So I think Central Bank came up with a policy to recover the debts. And then, of course, one of such policies was to publish the names of debtors.
Lo and behold, the one and only Emperor Chris Baywood, Ibe.
We had lost so much money. I think my loan position stood at about ₦1 billion at that time with that bank. And our name was published as one of the largest or the biggest debtors. I think either number 1 or number 2 at the time. My dear brother, I was not in the country when it happened.
Had you taken off, or you just gone?
No. I went out. I didn't know. One of these business trips. I think I was in India. I think I had a meeting with a partner. I was at the time prospecting to work with us in Nigeria. Yeah. And our name, Baywood Continental, was listed in Nigerian newspapers. My God, that's one of the largest debtors of that bank, to that bank. My office, my workers, they were dead before me. They were dead before me.
Yeah.
It's
all natural.
Yeah,
when the news come like that. You don't know
out
next,
of love, out of compassion and everything. They didn't know what to do. So they called me and said, sir, this is what is going on in Nigeria, please don't come back. Because they had set EFCC against the loan defaulters. EFCC is Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, set up by federal government of Nigeria, not primarily to hunt down loan defaulters, but against economic saboteurs,
yes,
right?
Yes.
In any form or shape.
Yeah.
And of course, in this regard, we have been classified as economic saboteurs because we're owing banks, okay? But you know what?
Yeah.
It's just owing supposedly a superfluous money.
Yeah.
This is the way I describe it. It's superfluous because how do I mean superfluous? I didn't borrow 600 million naira. Yeah. I didn't borrow 800 million naira. I borrowed
less than this.
I borrowed far less than this.
Yes, and
but
it is
because
your
of the interest
rate.
accumulation and what they call compound rate, compound interest,
yeah.
default charges,
yes,
blah
yes.
blah blah. Before you know it ballooned. Then I told my staff who called me, I said, why shouldn't I come back? I have not defrauded anybody. This is legitimate business. We are a corporate organization. We have not taken anybody's money illegally. So why should I not come back to Nigeria? And I don't think EFCC should arrest me because I have not defrauded anybody. Neither have I defrauded the federal government of Nigeria. Yeah. Okay? And so this we can discuss. I said, sir, please don't come back. I went against that.
The rule, and you went back to Nigeria.
I ruled against. I came back to Nigeria. Of course, I was not arrested. Lo and behold, this bank had appointed an attorney to go to court and start a process of wind-up of the company, Baywood Continental.
Wow.
Yes. That means they're going to appoint receiver manager. Receiver manager means you are bankrupt, you are insolvent.
Yes, so
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're going to the receivership, right?
Yeah.
My God, that was the toughest moment. That's it. And I never wanted to lose my name, because if you go through such process, you never operate with that name any longer. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You can't do business again with Baywood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless you do.
You find a way out.
You find a way out. So it was a major concern to me, and okay. On another thought, I said, okay, let me have a meeting with the bank before we go through that process. I went to the bank, had a meeting with the bank ED. And I told the AD, listen, guys, I mean, we need to do something about this. I didn't borrow this money. And I don't know why I have to be in this list. I think it's not very good. Something has to be done. Yeah. And they said, no, you have to pay down, or you have to pay some money before you go into any negotiation. I said, I don't have the money to pay. I was very determined. But one thing that occurred to me is that in the worst case scenario, actually, I was going to declare bankruptcy.
In which case they would not get their money.
In this case, I don't. So I looked at this guy and I said, excuse me, sir, are you aware that the so-called money I'm owing you, they're all paper money? I don't owe you this money. Yeah. Technically, we don't owe this money. It's just paper money. Yeah. So best thing for us will be to negotiate and let's find a way and make a win-win situation so that we'll find a way to pay the money.
This is between the bank and Baywood Continental.
Correct. It's between the bank and Baywood Continental. Finally, I think they saw the reasoning with me. The sense of reasoning came into them, and we discussed. And it was pruned down to about 600 million naira. We had a haircut down to 600, from almost 1 billion to 600 million. Yes. And with that, we were able to start making payments. So I entered into payment plan with the lawyer who they had appointed, who had gone to court to start that winding process. So we entered into negotiation with them. And of course, EFCC eventually invited me. We had a meeting with them in the bank, together with bankers, and they said, listen, I don't owe this money. This is how much I owe, and this is the way we plan to pay it. Yeah. And I was set free. I mean, I didn't go to go behind bars because of that, or detained by EFCC, because there was a clear understanding, a clear plan to how to make it.
Emperor, we always don't hear this part, but when you're talking about this story, I can see you become more emotional. It takes you back to the day it happened. You know, as a CEO and president, I still see that a lot when you try to recount the story. Many of them don't make it alive. We have had such situation in Uganda here where they just die of stress, or they just go to sleep and they don't get up, and then something happened. What are the lessons that we can pick from here? What can we learn from you right now? For all the CEOs who are watching this CEO program from all across the world, you've been caught in a situation like Emperor Baywood is talking about with your company. How do you pull out of it? How do you get out of it? What are the things that you need to do to get out of it? You are a CEO up on the top, or you are a CEO going to the top? How do you get out of this situation? What are the lessons that we can pick from here? We want you to write us comments. Kisses and disses are all welcome. And of course, we will have, Emperor Bay would write back and, some of those comment sections to give us, a thing or two. And if you're young and you're building, this is quite a journey for you to pick. It's a journey of patience.
Yeah, truly a journey of patience. You have to believe in yourself. That's number one. Number two, you have to be very confident. And you just have to have the spirit of can-do attitude. Again, let me put it this way. Yes, I know the banks are there. They want to collect as much money as they could. But you know what? They will always say, we're not in the business to sell your property.
Yeah.
We are not real estate owners. Our managers, we are interested in getting our money paid. Yeah. So most times you enter you schedule your debt. Even countries with IMF, especially African countries, they always reschedule their debts, provided you are a going concern. If they kill you, your company, and kill AD's company, and kill another person's company, they are not in business anymore.
Yeah, they will never get
So it's not actually in their best interest to kill anybody's company, all right? But they have to see a willingness for you to continue to be in business. You have to show that willingness and to pay. You have to have, again, there are two kinds of borrowers. People who really borrow to pay and those who borrow not to pay. Yeah. All right? And if you're amongst those who borrow not to pay, then it's a recipe for failure. Because sooner or later, your business will go into extinction, right? I set out not to allow my company to die because I look at other companies. I look at multinationals, and I ask myself, international organizations, I say, why are we not able to replicate such organizations in Africa? Why do we have to grow and die and fizzle away? When you have companies, they say, established 200 years ago, established 100 years ago. Why can we not do it in Africa? Succession plan, sustainability plan, and the focus of the founder. Yeah. Okay, these things got to come into play. It's a mix, right? I like to see my company being there and outlive me, and outlive my children. It's a legacy. So I pride myself in trying to build a legacy. It's not about how big. It's not about how big. You must not forget, right? Legacy is not about how big, but how you're able to nurture it, to grow and maintain. Yes. So that actually sets you apart from any other one. Wow. So we have grown as a company for over 30 years, and we have maintained the name. We didn't change the name. We have not changed the name, and we don't intend to change the name because it's a brand that we're very proud of. Yeah. And I do not intend to lose my brand identity. Because my brand identity says it all. If I go to the capital market to raise money, my brand identity also is a lot of brings in a lot of equity.
Yeah, right? That is where your equity is calculated.
And that's where my equity comes. Okay, yeah. I'm a brand identity. If you can't go to Shell today and say Baywood, they say we don't know Baywood. Yeah. You can't go to Total Energy in Nigeria and say Baywood. They say before you talk to 1, 2, 3 departments, at least they know. NNPC, just anywhere we have service. So it's a brand identity. Not only in the corporate world. What about the individuals that know you? What about the people you have come in contact with? Baywood. So it's a brand identity. It's priceless, and I treasure it. And this is one thing that I must tell to those people who are willing to build businesses. You must build your business to maintain your brand identity, right? It's not all about money. Make money, yes. We're all in business to make money, but it must be in business to make money and maintain and sustain your brand identity, because it's one thing that you can't wish away. It's priceless. Yeah. It's a treasure. Yeah. And this to me, I don't know about others, but to me, it's a treasure. And that's what I tell my children. I say, you must grow this company. You must treasure this company. don't mess up with the name, because it's a name that is so dear to my heart, that I hold so dearly.
Wow. Talking of that, Emperor Chris Baywood, as we hasten to the evening of our interview today, I mean, we're talking right here, and I'm sure somebody was watching the show, a young person or a middle-aged person in a corporation or employed, or somebody on a CEO ladder climbing up, or somebody coming down. Obviously, you have a wealth of knowledge. Just shed a light for us on how big is Baywood Group, so that people just understand. You've been throwing figures and talking about 1989. We don't know what the magnitude. I just wanted to point us to the magnitude of the worth of the company and the lessons that we can pick from there, and how this company is transforming lives back in Nigeria and across the world, and where is it located?
I would like to say that in Nigeria oil and gas, in my core area of business, I think we should be among the top 5. All right, in capacity, in experience, and in project portfolio.
Yeah,
I would say we're amongst the top 5, amongst the top 10 indigenous companies. Our project portfolio is large, and in doing that, we try to develop skills in-house. I would say in my structure, I don't have international, except project-based. When it matters most, that I bring international experts. Other than that, we're a fully indigenous company.
yeah.
From top to bottom, we're fully indigenous,
Yeah.
providing the services. We bring in international experts on need basis. And that we have done a couple of times, but they finish a project and they go.
Yeah.
In terms of portfolio size, we say that our portfolio is quite large. I just like to keep it that simple.
Can you give us a figure? I mean, it's just, if you don't mind.
We have done projects in hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay?
Hundreds of millions or billions of dollars?
Not billions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That I can tell you. Cumulatively, over the time, I think we would have done projects in excess of about $2-3 billion.
Okay.
Over time, cumulatively,
Yeah.
either as a solo or joint venture.
Okay.
Because
And what's our asset base kind of looking like?
our asset base is heavy, but these assets depreciate.
Yes.
Right? We have a large armada of assets. All right, construction asset that is really quite very impressive, very, very impressive.
In terms of its portfolio?
In terms of portfolio, don't forget we were in aviation. We had our helicopters.
Yeah.
We operated 4 fleets of helicopters.
Yeah.
AW139. AW is Augusta Westland.
Yeah.
Augusta Westland helicopters. We operated pre-COVID, but of course, Nigeria has been hit so much, particularly in oil and gas. Our operation went down because the activities of exploration and production in Nigeria went down so much so that business activities declined. And one of the major hits is aviation, because this operation is done for the IOCs to move people back and forth. And when they reduce their footprint of operation, a lot of things didn't occur any longer, and it's still on, because even as of today, due to the challenges we have in the Niger Delta, due to a lot of what I call oil theft, our production capacity has dropped from about 1.8 million barrels to 1.4 to 1.2, and now it's about 800,000 barrels per day of oil. So most of our activities is more or less, then with the insecurity in Nigeria actually. Activities have tapered down a little bit in Nigeria, that I can say. So our assets are just idling out because we don't have a lot of equipment, we don't have a lot of jobs right now to deploy this asset. Hence, the depreciation, and our looking elsewhere, coming to Uganda, because we know that Uganda has a lot of opportunities today in the oil and gas industry, and they're yet to develop their local capacity. All right, and I'm very happy with the way the Ugandans are going. They're more focused towards partnering with Africans, African companies who have over the years, made their mark in the industry,
and
rather
build their
than
capacity.
to build their own capacity and train their people. So rather than partner with international organizations, they're rather more inclined to partnering with local companies, Nigerian African-oriented companies, like Baywood, and this is why I'm here, and we're hoping that all things being equal, we may be deploying those armada of idling equipment to Uganda to support the oil and gas activities.
Wow. I want to just bring this. I know you have not answered that, but I wanted to know, in terms of coming to Uganda, when you talk about, you've given out the portfolio in terms of the business, but in terms of the asset base, I know you talked about the depreciation, but just to give us an understanding. Sometime when you're talking, people will be thinking, and we're talking about mandazi, and we're talking about bananas and chips. We're not talking about this. We're talking these things that are different all level altogether. I want to give us that understanding of what the asset portfolio like, just rough.
You mean in terms of value?
Asset value, yeah.
Asset value? Yeah. Well, if you have to buy those assets today,
total as you have,
what we have, you'll be spending close to about $150 million to $200 million to acquire there. Without the helicopters, of course, one helicopter is about $30 million, $35 million. Yes. But of course, we don't own those helicopters anymore because we return them. The beautiful thing about that is that that's what they call wet and dry lease, okay? If you do a wet lease, they will come with all the full complement of crews. Yes. But because we have capacity in-house, Nigeria, so we didn't come with crews. We operated the equipment. But so with the downturn, we didn't have to, have so much idle asset that would be wasted. So we return back to our lessor, and then that saved us a lot of cost. But initially, it was a lot of exposure to fund the aviation and run the aviation to the extent we did, because aviation is also very capital intensive. And it's one place you cannot cut corners.
All right. As my second to last question to you, as we wind up this interview, it goes to say, assuming you are now in Uganda today, will you help us develop the capacity? Will you help us develop the local talent? I mean, for some of this equipment, we're pretty much new into this oil and gas sector, into this oil and gas business. Uganda is a very young child that is coming up, that needs a lot of guidance, and that parents need to think through this whole process very well. But learning from those who have been before us, like you, Nigeria, will that be a possibility for local content, local people, local talent development? And also, how will that transform us, by the way?
Let me go back to what I said. I love the spirit of Ugandans and the government and the regulatory authorities. They're more focused towards Africa, African-oriented companies. Again, and they're looking towards more to Nigeria, because when you talk about oil and gas activity in Africa, Nigeria will come top. All right, we have developed our local capacity. We have developed not only technical, we have developed the financial muscles. We have developed even the skills from the smallest to the biggest. So we come to Uganda with a whole lot of giving back, so to speak.
Yeah.
All we need is simply the support from the authorities of Uganda to either relocate or build an extension of what we have developed in Nigeria here, with some reasonability of assurance. What do I mean by reasonability of assurance? Every businessman wants to recoup his investment. Yeah. It would be foolhardy for me to set up here, run my workshops, facilities, staff, people, different cadres without project. Because our money also
not just projects, meaningful projects.
Meaningful projects.
Yeah.
And our monies don't come cheap, or like our international partner, the counterparts. Yeah. Say, for example, if you have a UK company coming from UK now to establish in Uganda, he's running on an interest rate of 4%. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I'm coming from Nigeria to set up in Uganda. I'm running currently at interest of 22%. So, balance factor. I mean, how far can I sustain? So the authorities in Uganda got to make conscious effort to want to, make companies like us here to stay. Because in so doing, they will quickly jumpstart the capacity development of their own. Yeah. Listen, I just have to say it here. Yes, that you want to support only Ugandan companies, supposedly in the true meaning to the letter. Ugandan companies means you have one Edi Okila who has a company, Edi Okila and Sons Limited, blah, 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 yeah. But it doesn't have anybody to support him. He's just an Ugandan. It's okay, give Edi Okila a section of the pipeline to go and construct. It doesn't have the financial muscle. Yeah. It doesn't have the technical knowledge. He might claim that they have the technical knowledge, but it doesn't have it because it has not. These things are not wishful thinking, all right? Yeah. It's over the years. The way we are today is not the way we were 20 years ago. Yeah. There are a lot of lessons learned, because one of the things we have learned again in the course of our business is what I call lessons learned. Yeah. At the end of every project, you sit down with your client and have what they call lessons learned register. Yeah. What can I do better? How can I do it better than if I have the opportunity tomorrow? What can I do better to make me a better company? Yeah. So this has to go on for a long time before you can say, deal killer, yes, if I give him this project, I can go to bed and sleep. He can deliver. Yes, I mean, you want to support your local guys, but you know what? I think a lot of emphasis need to be made to work with, to give companies like us that are coming into Uganda. However, there must be demonstrable, what I can call demonstrable measures and ways of making sure that we transfer technology. Yeah. And these guys learn, okay? And through, they got to learn, develop, not only technical, develop financial. Because the more you work with me, as either a subcontractor or as a partner, and you get your money and you plow back, that's another thing. Yeah. You continue to, because if you make this money and do another business, you're not going to grow the business, right? Yeah. So one of the things that we did as a company is that we grew Baywood for so long, not doing any other business except this, before we began to look elsewhere to diversify. Now we're in technology, okay? We're going into media, we're going into e-commerce, we're going into fintech, and all under one umbrella of what we call the company called CBI Technology and CBI Digital Media Technology, all right? A combination of all these things is going to set Africa again on another level when it comes to entertainment, financial technology, e-commerce market, and digital media. You couldn't do it when we were just growing, when we didn't have the financial muscle. Yeah, if you do it, because you need to build the flagship. That's why I call Baywood Continental our flagship. Yeah. All right. Most of these investments that we have made in other companies is coming from Baywood Continental. God may have it. We're not borrowing so much, so we are not really heavily leveraged as a company, right? Because one thing is for certain. Whatever you borrow, you must pay. Yeah. All right? Yeah. Whatever you borrow, man, be careful.
We already having that situation in Kampala, in Uganda.
If you don't pay, if you don't pay, then you're gone. Yeah. You're done. So I don't take money that I don't need. Okay? So this is a clear message.
That's a big lesson, eh?
Yeah.
You don't take money that you don't need.
I don't take money that I don't need. You have to be clear in your head that you're going to borrow 100 million naira or 1 billion shillings. What are you using the 1 billion shillings to do? Have you done your numbers? Have you crunched your numbers? Have you done your business case? A lot of people don't do their business case. They just, AD is doing very well here. Let me go join AD. You don't know whether AD has something else that is supporting that one. Yeah. Because you might think that that business is thriving. Unknown to you, that business is being supported by another business from somewhere. Yeah. Just like when we were doing the helicopter business. Yeah. We were not making money. It was supported by Baywood Continental because we didn't have a lot of operation, okay? So because we were not able to land a big contract with the IOC, so what we resorted to doing was what we call sport charter. Yeah. People would come and take us for 1 day, 2 days, 1 week. That's what we were running. Yeah. We were not making money. We're just waiting in anticipation to make the land the big project. But it was being supported by Baywood Continental. So, and that's one of the things, when Baywood Continental business began to decline, because of the decline in oil activities in Nigeria, the helicopter operation was affected.
Because it had not yet built to that
because
level.
we have not built
to that level.
to that level. Yeah, because and we have done it for 8 years, waiting for, because these contracts it takes a while to come, all right? And this one service as well we can provide here, the helicopter service, because I see the distance in oil and gas. So I ask myself, who are the operators here? So these are the kind of things that Baywood Group can as well bring to Uganda, because we have had that experience over time in Nigeria.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, Emperor Baywood, a man of many colors. And now we're talking about some really big things here on the CEO bench. My name is Eddie Okela, and before we break, Emperor, we want to go back to the moment you loved so much. When I interacted with you, keep talking about, I'm a social activist, I'm a youth, empowerment driver, leader in Africa. Let's talk about that as we wind up.
Yes, I'm very passionate about that.
Why the youth?
They're the future. I don't care, but they're the future. It's not only in Nigeria, the youth are the future. It's like you have a family, you have children. They are going to take over you. If you insist that your children will remain children as they are, they will revolt. And they can even plan to kill you.
Yeah. And in some incidences, it has happened.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. In some
We're seeing that in Europe.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I grew up. That's one thing that I'm so passionate about, because one of the things that what drove me into that is, again, philanthropy comes with, there must be something must strike the chord. Something struck the chord for me. And that thing gave way to my philanthropic nature. And I began to preach it, I began to talk about it, I began to say, listen, unless these guys, we're in automation age, right? This time we're in automation age. And one of the studies I did is, why do we have our fathers and our grandfathers still as the dominant players in our political life? Or political lives. Why are they not allowing the young ones to come up? And the world is fast moving away from the old generation to the young generation, but the Africans are still holding it firmly to their chest. Yeah. And I think it's time that we have to rise up. And I started championing it. I went around Africa. I've been everywhere with my Baywood Foundation, preaching about the youth. I don't call it anymore youth empowerment, investment.
Youth investment.
Yes, you have to invest in your youth. You have to make your youth to be employable, because today, most youths in Africa are not even employable because we believe so much in certificates, right?
Other than substance of skill.
Other than substance of skill.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, without downplaying education, without downplaying educational qualifications like going to universities and everything, but I think we have to, again, consider vocational training, skill training, exposing them to the realities of life, not just stay in the classroom and theorize, okay, and they come out and they look like they are lost, okay, because most of our universities are not equipped to expose them to such realities of the world, okay? Even in the Western world, where you are exposed to a lot of, maybe you have a very well set up laboratories, you have maybe process facilities, but at the end of the day, it's modular. Yeah. It's not natural. Yeah. When you go out there to work, you see that it's a different kind of fish. Yeah. So I think the way to go for me, one of the things I've been preaching is that we need to get these youths to understand that the future belongs to them, and begin to reorientate their mind. One of the things I try to do very well is reorientating their mind, their mindset. Because who are their mentors? Who are the people? Who are the people they're looking up to? Politicians. And if you look at the lifestyle of our politicians, it's a bit deceitful. Yeah. It's not real. Yeah. It's imaginary. Everybody wants to be a politician. For example, in Nigeria today, if you ask a young kid what they want to be, it's only a politician. Why? Because you see them the way they spend money, the way they live their lifestyle, the way they do things. But those things don't have base. They have no solid base. Yeah. Take them out of that political scene. 1 year down the line, you won't like to see them again. So we need to lecture, we need to talk to them and let them understand that it's a reset, mindset reset. Let them understand that even that guy who is living large as a politician, they didn't start yesterday. Honestly, for you to succeed in life, regardless of whatever area you find yourself, time, it has to be, you must have spent a lot of time in doing that before you begin to reap the dividends. The dividends don't come overnight. But you see, because of the values, we have lost our values so much so in Africa. I don't know. I think we have lost our values. So the values today is we want to make money today. Okay, I told you the story of me and my brother.
Yeah.
If my father did not come to reset my value, I would have been gone. I want to be richer than my brother.
Yeah. You wanted to be richer than your brother, who was already rich, and you are learning
who's been working, doing business all this time.
Yeah.
And I just came out from school.
Yeah.
And I want to be richer than my brother.
Yeah.
It's not bad to be, my uncle said, it's not bad to be a shoemaker. What is bad is making bad shoes. Do you hear that?
Yeah, you're right.
So it's not bad to be ambitious, but it's bad to be over ambitious.
Yes.
You just have to be ambitious for you to succeed
So it's
in
not
life.
bad to be a shoemaker?
It's not bad to be a shoemaker. What is bad is making bad shoes.
Bad shoes.
When you are a good shoemaker,
Yeah.
you can become a designer shoemaker.
Yeah.
And everybody will come to you, flock to you, right?
Yes.
But when you're a bad shoemaker,
And Emperor Chris,
and everybody want to be like, and everybody will be envious of you.
Yeah, yeah.
But when you're a bad shoemaker, you know what people do? Ah, that man, leave him. He don't know anything what to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's doing. Forget him. But when you are now a good shoemaker, you begin to export. Yeah. You become everybody's darling, and people want to emulate you.
Yeah.
So, I tell you something. It's good to be ambitious, but it's not good to be over ambitious. Wow. Because when you're over ambitious, you might do that one that might land you in jail so quickly. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
that will be the end of you.
Then that will be the end of you. So it's one step at a time. Johnny Walker. Yeah. Johnny Walker says, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step.
Yeah.
But you know what? That step does not guarantee you are going to reach to that destination.
Yeah.
Continuous walking will ensure you get to that stage. So I think that as we grow older, we must encourage our young people, reorientate them, reorientate their values, reset their value set, their value systems.
Yes.
So that they see
the value belief system.
The value belief system, so that they begin to see that there's dignity in labor. A good number of us don't believe anymore in dignity in labor. All right, they just want to. Maybe people trying to, leave the country, either they're crossing one blue ocean or crossing one dry desert to get to the so-called promised land. Who says it's a promised land? So our leaders, again, need to make our environment very conducive for our young ones. Yeah. And then if you don't have any nation without young people, it's a doomed nation. Yeah. And Africa is so proud to have this young burgeoning population. What do? You have to make conscious effort. Like I keep telling them, we wrote a book, Baywood Foundation. It's called Beyond Rhetoric. And we initiated something called Intern and Return. What do I mean by intern and return? When you train these young lads and give them opportunities to be interns in various locations, okay? And government sets aside what they call internship fund to pay them while they are doing the internship in all spheres of life. That is one sure way to stimulate their knowledge, stimulate their appetite, and begin to see things differently. So, and it's a policy. As a matter of fact, what we ask for in that book is a declaration, affirmative action. We ask for 35% affirmative action across all Africa on youths. And what do I mean by affirmative action on youths? In other words, here in Uganda, for example, I've seen young women and young people in positions of authority. So what we advocate for is that this affirmative action needs to be legislated and gazetted and endorsed. As a matter of fact, the African Union, when we met with them, endorsed it, and what they needed was to just meet with the various legislative assemblies across the 54 African nations and see how they can buy into this thing and adopt an internal return initiative. And Baywood Foundation, in partnership with African Union, have promised to put the initial seed money to do such fund initiatives and kickstart it. And one other way to stimulate the youth, I said, is to have an endowment fund or prize money or prize award for youths across Africa that have achieved in various spheres of life. Because these guys have achieved. Have you identified them? Because when you begin to reward these young ones, and appreciate them and consider them as part of the main society. Because what is happening today, like if you would see what is going on in Nigeria today, there's almost a youth revolution because they are tired, okay? Because they're not part of the system. They're not meant to be part of the system. These guys have emasculated them from the system. They are taking hold of everything. If you look at throughout the length and breadth of Africa, look at our presidents. They are all in their 80s, okay? Are they more smarter now? No. Are they in tune with the technology? No. Are they thinking about how to move the country or the nation forward or the continent forward? No. Can they be more radical? No. Because we need radicalism in a bit of things we do to change, to reset the continent. Okay? I was listening to a program where some young lads in Europe were pushing for Macron to stop the ECOP project in Uganda. What do they know about Africa? So if we have a very united, formidable African Union that can come up with a very big voice and say, listen, can you even keep your money? We don't need your money. We donate funds and have a pool of funds where we can tap into to develop our natural resources. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. So Intern and Return Initiative for African youth is what Baywood Foundation is still advocating, because that's the only way we can put Africa and make them to be a continent to be sought after. We have the smart youth, we have very intelligent youth, we have youth tech savvy. If you come to Nigeria today, one of the things that is raving is tech startups. These tech startups are young ones. 20, 25, 30, coming out with genuine ideas. All they need is a little pep. And that's what you call this little pep, like what we did in a program with Coca-Cola. The first time that Baywood Foundation ever got grant was Coca-Cola giving us $100,000 to do a program we call Youth ICT and Skill Acquisition Project, YISAP. You can go to our website, Baywood Foundation, and find YISAP, YISAP. What we do was to gather youths from all parts of the state and train them in different skills. Okay? We have certain set skills we train them in those skills, and give them, and then on the final day, they exhibited their skills. They produced those things that they did, they created those things that they did, and displayed their wares in the market, and people bought them, right? But in doing that, we gave them some seed funds to start off.
Not just saying go and start this,
go and start this. Out of 600 or 1,000 people that were trained in different skills, we selected 100 or 200 people that were given seed money. So this is what I'm saying. In every society, if you don't make such policies and drive those policies down, and it has to be driven by a youth, not when you set up a commission like that, you go and get some guy that's 80 years to manage. No, you got to be a youth of 30 who will drive the stage, because these guys, they're thinking differently from the way we're thinking today, and they're tech savvy. Listen, they can, when even you go agro-based, they can do a lot of things with agro. Okay, deploying technology, deploying skills. We're talking about large-scale farming. They can even do green farming, greenhouse farming. And in greenhouse farming, you don't need even a large footprint to do a greenhouse, okay? But you produce as much, and even well-controlled environment. You produce as much healthy fruits and agro-based products than you would have done using massive agro-based. Of course, you need to do mechanized farming. But you know what? Get these guys to buy into the future, and it has to be driven by their own people. And what we're saying about intern and return is that even in the National Assembly, wherever you have somebody like a 50-year-old guy, you need to bring someone like a 30-year-old guy to understanding him. Yes. And in understanding him, you're paying him from the internship fund, okay? That thereafter is either he continues with what he is doing as an intern, or he goes out. By then, he would have gained knowledge, he would have made contact, he would have had his own network group and all stuff like that. So this is what we're thinking, and this is the way to really, really develop the African youth. And this is what Baywood Foundation is all about, championing for over 17 years. And it's born out of passion. It's born out of speaking, because I know that if you don't have a safe environment, you can be as rich as you are, but if your neighbor is not happy, is not hungry, you are unsafe. So create a safe environment by making sure that people around you, and that's why my role model was Nelson Mandela, and that's why I love his quote. He said, it's not about how long you lived on earth, but how much you have impacted on lives of people. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not about how successful you are. So for me, I think one of the things that I pride myself for is that you don't need to have billions to be a philanthropist, right? I did it, and I found the secret to success. It's giving. And it's not about how much you give. It's about how you're able to get people to have a reset and begin to think differently. So I'm a proponent of that we have to bring our youth forward, both in politics, in all spheres of life, in business, but you need to train them. You need to create funds in everything we do, and we don't carry these young guys along. Someday will come, and they will rise up against us. And you know what? When we had NSAS in Nigeria, and it was in Lagos, I don't know if you read about NSAS.
Yes, yes.
By the special grace of God, I'm one of the bourgeois, right?
Yeah.
In Lagos and Nigeria.
Yeah.
I was so afraid of myself. I was so afraid of everything around me. Because when an eruption like that engulfs, they don't know who's speaking for them. They don't know. It's like you are one of the oppressors. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can become a target that you shouldn't have been. So why don't we nip this situation on the board before it balloons, okay, and out of control? So there was a lot of destruction, and they were going after the rich people. These rich people. And who are these rich people? It could have been a Baywood who had worked all his life, trying to make money legitimately, not being involved in any scam, not being involved in anything that is illicit, okay? And then even giving back to the society. But my dear brother, when a situation like that occurs,
It's indiscriminatory.
it's indiscriminatory.
Because they're not thinking.
Yeah, they're not thinking.
Yeah.
Everybody's a target. And I don't want to be that because I will regret it. So my position is the earlier we nip the situation on board, the better for everybody. And together we can make Africa forward and move this nation, this continent, to where we expect it to be. We can't do it. We need these guys. But we need to reorientate their values. We need to reset their values because the values is completely eroded right now. And in doing so, we need to reorientate ourselves again. Our value system is no more.
Ladies and gentlemen, Emperor Chris Baywood Ibe, thank you very much. This has been one of the most powerful interviews that we've done on the CEO bench. And as we depart from here, question, in a second, tell us a joke.
A joke.
A joke that has ever been given about your name, Emperor, and how you reacted to it, if at all. And give us one African proverb from Nigeria.
Well, I don't know. You see, people think that I just woke up and became emperor. That's okay, no problem. But it's a story for another day. But I always tell you, if you want to know about the emperors, that's a book you need to go and read. It's called God, Pope, and Emperor. So you know the origin of emperor.
Wow.
God, Pope, and Emperor. So, one thing about this economic reality, and if you want to be an emperor, you have to live up to it, right? You have to live up to it. So, I think I'm living up to my title, emperor, and I make good to say that unless you visit me in Nigeria, you may not know that I'm a true emperor. And I'm a benevolent emperor, because emperors are known for draconian rules and the Gestapo style of doing things. I am not that one. I'm this benevolent emperor. Emperors don't talk about giving back. So I could better be described as a refined emperor who talks for the people, especially the downtrodden and the young people. So that's what I should be remembered. One of the things I want to be remembered for when I'm gone is, how many lives have you touched? It's not how much money I have. No. It's not how much. Are you the biggest billionaire in the world? No. Yes, even if I'm the biggest billionaire, but how much lives have I touched? And that's my prayer, that as God continues to bless us in what we do, we have to leave our footsteps on the sands of times so that I'll be counted amongst those who help to alleviate poverty. I have to touch lives. And you know what it means to shake a young man who never thought that he could come close to you. That's mentorship, right? And they wouldn't touch you unless you get close to them, right? So you must break that barrier so that they come close to you, make yourself available, that they can come and talk to you. Something happened during a conference in Uganda where I participated. A lot of youths came to me, a lot of young ones, because of my contribution. I couldn't just carry on like Emperor Chris Baywood, but I was ready to mingle. I was ready to talk with them. I was ready to impart this knowledge and get them to be to be appreciated. And you know, they felt so happy that, oh, this guy, so he's accessible. Just a handshake. How are you? How you doing? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. You know, these things, they go a long way to helping and motivate people. So it's why I am a motivational speaker. Put me on the table there, and I'll teach the young lads how to turn things around.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, the CEO bench has come to an end. Edio Killer, Emperor Chris Baywood Ibe, all the way from Enugu State in Nigeria, the federal state of Nigeria. We want to say thank you very much. Until next time, we're saying bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emperor, for coming.